Devil's Hollow, Maine, is the kind of place where rain doesn't just fall often, it falls with a kind of personal vendetta, like the sky has some old grudge against this particular stretch of forgotten New England. The old textile mill that once employed half the town now squats on the edge of Main Street like a dying monument to better days, its brick facade converted into co-working spaces and creative studios by optimistic yuppies who thought they could gentrify poverty into prosperity. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. They were wrong, of course, but the mill did have one thing going for it: excellent acoustics. That's where I worked. Night shift, 5 evenings a week, as a sound technician in what used to be the spinning room and was now Devil's Hollow Sound Studios. Mostly I recorded local garage bands who thought they were one YouTube video away from stardom, and occasionally I did audiobook work for romance novelists who needed their prose to sound sultry at 3 a.m. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm the kind of guy people underestimate, and I let them. I'm not tall, I'm not short, I'm not handsome, I'm not ugly. I run 3 times a week, do basic gym work, and know how to change my own oil. In Devil's Hollow, that makes you unremarkable. Invisible, even. Which, as it turns out, is a useful thing to be. Emma, my wife, though by the time this story really begins, that word had started to feel like a costume that didn't fit anymore, worked as an HR assistant at Devil's Hollow Regional Hospital. She was pretty in that carefully maintained way that requires gym memberships and expensive hair products. We'd been married for 6 years, together for 8, and somewhere around year 5, she'd started looking at me the way you look at furniture you're thinking of replacing. I noticed. Of course I noticed. But I'm a sound technician. I'm trained to hear things other people miss. The little shifts in tone, the frequencies that don't quite match, the silence where there should be sound. The text came on a Tuesday. I was setting up mics for a podcast recording. 2 local conspiracy theorists who were convinced the mill was built on a Native American burial ground. It wasn't, I'd checked. When my phone buzzed. Emma, I can't handle your emotional baggage anymore. This is over. I stared at it for a long moment. Read it twice, 3 times. Then I typed back, agreed, thanks for the space, and I blocked her number. The conspiracy theorists were staring at me. You okay, man? One of them asked. Yeah, I said. Just got some good news. Which was true in a way. Emotional baggage, that was rich. I'd spent 6 years listening to her complain about her job, her mother, her weight, her existential dread about turning 30. I'd held her when she cried about her friend's wedding being nicer than ours. I'd pretended to care about her CrossFit gym drama, and now I had emotional baggage. I knew what that meant. It meant she'd found someone else, someone with abs and a Jeep Wrangler, and the kind of confidence that comes from never having to think too hard about anything. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't drink myself stupid. I went home, made a sandwich, and went to bed at 6 a.m. like always. But before I did, I sent the screenshots to Lana. Lana was Emma's best friend, or had been, before Emma started getting weird and distant. Lana worked at the hospital too, in billing, and she had the kind of personality that made people tell her things they shouldn't. Secrets stuck to Lana like lint. Her response came within 2 minutes. Lana. Oh, hell no. She's lying to you about something. Call me. I didn't call, but I filed that information away the way you file away a tool you know you'll need later. The next month was strange, quiet. I went to work, came home, ran my roots through the wet streets of Devil's Hollow, and slowly realized something. I was happier alone. No more pretending to care about her Instagram aesthetic. No more listening to her talk about macros and cheat days. No more walking on eggshells around her mood swings. I slept better, ate better, even smiled at strangers again. And then, 5 weeks after the breakup text, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Hey, it's me. I know you blocked me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how things ended. I was stressed. Can we talk? I'm actually going to be near your place this weekend. Coffee? I stared at it. Stressed. Right. Now here's what you need to understand about Devil's Hollow. It's small. Population 4,200. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everyone's business. It's the kind of place where you can't buy condoms without the cashier telling her book club about it. So when Emma said she'd be near my place, I already knew why. Because 2 days earlier, I'd run into Mr. Granger at the diner. Mr. Granger owned half the commercial real estate in Devil's Hollow, including the mill. He was in his 60s, sharp as a tack, and one of the few people in town I actually respected. We'd become friendly over the years. He appreciated that I kept the studio equipment in good shape and didn't steal things. "Your wife's been asking around about me," he'd said, sipping his coffee. "Wants an introduction, something about a loan for her mother's medical bills." I'd nodded slowly. Emma's mother was fine. I knew because Lana had mentioned seeing her at bingo the week before. "What did you tell her?" I'd asked. "Told her I'd think about it." Granger had smiled. "Thought you'd want to know." So when Emma texted from her new number, I knew exactly what she wanted. And I smiled. Because I'm the kind of guy people underestimate. And I was done letting them. I agreed to meet her for coffee. Picked a place on the edge of town, near the defunct train station. Neutral ground. She showed up 15 minutes late, wearing yoga pants and a hoodie, hair in a ponytail. The "I just rolled out of bed, but I'm still effortlessly pretty" look. She was trying too hard. "Hey," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Hey." Silence. She fidgeted with her phone. I sipped my coffee and waited. "So," she finally said, "I know things ended badly." "You ended them," I said. "Via text, while I was at work." She flinched. "I know. I'm sorry. I was overwhelmed. Work has been crazy and I didn't handle it well." "Okay. Okay?" "Yeah, okay. You were overwhelmed, I get it." She blinked. This wasn't going the way she'd expected. She'd probably practiced this in the mirror. Probably expected me to yell or cry or beg. "I miss you," she said, and her voice cracked just a little. Impressive. She'd been practicing that too. "Do you?" "I do." She reached across the table, touched my hand. "I made a mistake. I want to fix this." I looked at her hand on mine. Noticed her nails were freshly done. French tips. Expensive. "Are you seeing someone?" I asked. Her hand jerked back. "What?" "No. Why would you—" "Just asking." "No," she said firmly. "There's no one else. I needed space, and now I realize I don't want space. I want you." She was good. I'll give her that. Her eyes were even a little wet. "I'll think about it," I said. Her face lit up. "Really?" "Sure. Give me a week." She nodded eagerly. Okay, yeah, take your time. And, actually, there's one other thing. Here it comes. "I know you're friends with Mr. Granger," she said, "and I really need to talk to him about a loan, for my mom. She's sick. I heard. Could you maybe put in a good word for me?" I pretended to consider it. "Maybe. Let me think about everything together." She practically bounced out of the booth when we left. I watched her walk to her car, a newish Honda Civic, which was interesting because her old car had been a beat-up Corolla, and drive away. Then I walked to my truck and sat there for a long moment. Lana had been right. Emma was lying about something, and I was going to find out what. Devil's Hollow has a CrossFit gym. It opened 2 years ago in what used to be an auto shop, and it attracts exactly the kind of people you'd expect. Young professionals who move to town for the authentic small-town experience, and locals who want to pretend they're not slowly dying of economic depression. Emma had joined a year ago, started going 5 times a week, Came home talking about box jumps and clean and jerks and her amazing coach. I'd never been. Gyms aren't my thing. But that Friday night after my shift, I decided to drive by. It was 11 p.m. The gym was closed, dark except for a single light in the back office. And there, in the parking lot, was Emma's Civic, parked next to a customized Jeep Wrangler with oversized tires and a light bar that probably violated several traffic laws. I pulled into the gas station across the street and waited. 20 minutes later, the gym's back door opened. Emma came out first. Then a guy I'd seen around town, tall, built like he spent his entire life at the gym, with one of those carefully maintained beards that requires more product than most women's hair. His name was Caleb. I knew, because I'd recorded a podcast for him once. Fitness and mental toughness, he'd called it. It had been exactly as insufferable as you'd expect. Emma was laughing at something he'd said. Caleb opened the Jeep's passenger door for her. She got in. They sat there for a moment, talking. Then Caleb leaned over and kissed her. Not a peck, a real kiss, the kind that says, "I've done this before." When they finally pulled apart, Caleb said something that made Emma laugh again. Then he reached out and slapped her on the butt as she climbed out of the Jeep and walked to her car. I sat in my truck, watching her taillights disappear down Main Street. And I thought, and that was the moment I stopped being the quiet guy. Here's what I knew about Caleb. He was 32, grew up in Portland, moved to Devil's Hollow 3 years ago when he bought the CrossFit gym. Single, or at least he claimed to be. Drove the Jeep like it was a personality trait. Had the kind of social media presence that made you tired just scrolling through it. Shirtless gym photos, motivational quotes over sunsets, hashtags like grind mode and never settle. He was exactly the kind of guy Emma would fall for while finding herself. Here's what else I knew. Devil's Hollow runs on gossip. It's the town's primary currency. You can buy goodwill with gossip. You can destroy reputations with it. You can control entire social circles if you know how to feed the right information to the right people. And I had Lana. We met at the diner on a Sunday afternoon. She was already waiting in a corner booth, 2 cups of coffee on the table. "Okay," she said as soon as I sat down. "Spill. What's going on?" "Emma's seeing someone," I said. "I knew it." Lana leaned forward. "Who?" "Caleb, the CrossFit guy." "Oh, Jesus." Lana sat back, shaking her head. "Okay, yeah, that tracks. She's been weirdly secretive about the gym, and she's been dressing differently. I should have put it together." "How long do you think it's been going on?" Lana considered. 3 months? Maybe 4? She started getting weird right around the time she got obsessed with that gym. I nodded slowly. That lined up with when she'd started pulling away from me, when the emotional baggage accusations started. "What are you going to do?" Lana asked. "I don't know yet," I lied, because I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to destroy them both. The thing about being a sound technician is that you learn to pay attention to frequencies, to interference, to the way sound travels in unexpected ways. My neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, had been complaining for weeks about her baby monitor acting up. She was in her 70s, watching her grandson twice a week, and the monitor kept picking up strange conversations. "I think it's the neighbors," she'd told me. "But I don't know which ones." I'd offered to take a look at it. Turns out baby monitors operate on radio frequencies, and if you're not careful about which channel you're on, they can pick up all sorts of things. Cordless phones, walkie-talkies, other baby monitors, and apparently Caleb's Bluetooth speaker system. His rental house was 3 blocks away, and he had one of those expensive outdoor speaker setups, the kind gym bros install so they can listen to motivational podcasts while grilling protein. The interference was accidental, completely unintentional, but once I realized what was happening, I started visiting Mrs. Kowalski more often, and I started hearing things. Caleb was a talker. He loved the sound of his own voice, and he spent a lot of time on the phone, pacing around his backyard, holding forth on his various philosophies. "These women are so easy to manipulate," I heard him tell someone. A friend, I assumed. "You just tell them what they want to hear. Emma's the same. She thinks I'm going to leave my ex for her. I'm not even with my ex anymore, but she doesn't need to know that." Laughter on the other end of the line. "Yeah, she's paying for half my rent now. Thinks we're going to move in together. I give it another 2 months before she figures out I'm just using her." More laughter. I sat in Mrs. Kowalski's kitchen, drinking tea and listening to the monitor, and felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Emma was being used. And part of me, a small, petty part, wanted to tell her, to warn her. But the rest of me thought, they deserve each other. The gossip mill in Devil's Hollow doesn't need much fuel. Just a spark, a whisper, a carefully dropped comment in the right ear. I started with the diner. Mentioned to Betty, the owner, that I'd heard Caleb was doing renovations on his rental without permits. "Really?" Betty said, leaning in. "How do you know?" "Just something I heard," I said with a shrug. By the next day, 3 people had told me they'd heard the same thing. Then I ran into Jim, who worked at the hardware store. "Heard Caleb's having money trouble," I said casually. "Something about skipping child support last year." That one was true. Lana had mentioned it. Apparently, Caleb had a kid from a previous relationship and had a reputation for being late on payments. Jim frowned. "That's not right. Guy drives around in that fancy Jeep but can't pay for his own kid?" "Just what I heard," I said. By Friday, half the town was talking about Caleb's character issues, and I hadn't done anything illegal, hadn't lied, just amplified the truth. Emma texted me again. "Emma, have you thought about what I said, about us?" Me. Still thinking. "Emma, can we meet again? I miss talking to you." Me. "Sure, how about Tuesday?" Emma. "Perfect. And did you talk to Mr. Granger?" Me. "Working on it." I wasn't, of course, but I needed her to think I was, because the plan was coming together. The confrontation happened on a Saturday night. I'd been tracking Caleb's schedule, not in a creepy way, just in a, I know when the gym closes and where he parks way, and I knew he usually stayed late on Saturdays to clean equipment. I waited in the parking lot. He came out at 10:30, whistling, keys jangling. "Hey, Caleb," I said, stepping out of the shadows. He jumped, actually jumped, then recovered, puffing his chest out. "The hell, man? You scared me." "Sorry, just wanted to talk." He looked me up and down, sizing me up. I'm not big, not intimidating. He relaxed. "About what?" he said. "About my wife." His expression flickered, just for a second. But I saw it. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. "Emma," I said. "You've been with her, in your Jeep, at your place. Don't bother lying." He stared at me. Then he smiled. That cocky, gym bro smile. "Look, man," he said. "I don't want any trouble. She came on to me, all right? I didn't chase her." "I'm sure. And honestly," he stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. "She was looking for an upgrade, no offense." I stepped forward instead of back. His smile faltered, and I slapped him. Not a punch, a slap. Hard enough to sting, hard enough to humiliate. He stumbled backward, hand to his face, eyes wide. "What the—" "You touched what was mine," I said quietly. "Now I'm going to touch what's yours. Your reputation." He stared at me, fury and confusion warring on his face. Behind him, I saw movement. People leaving the bar across the street. Phones out. Recording. Perfect. "You're crazy," Caleb said. "Maybe," I said. "But you're the one who's going to regret this." I walked away, leaving him standing there in the parking lot, hand to his face, while half of Devil's Hollow watched. By Monday morning, the video was everywhere. "Local gym owner gets slapped by scorned husband," the Devil's Hollow Gazette called it. The video wasn't great quality, too dark, too far away, But you could see enough. Caleb puffing his chest out, me slapping him, Caleb stumbling back, humiliated. The comments were brutal. Guess his mental toughness doesn't apply to actual confrontation. That's what happens when you mess with someone's wife. I heard he doesn't really take care of his parental duties. Gym memberships started canceling, not all at once, but steadily, drip by drip. Caleb tried to fight back. Posted a video on social media about false narratives and jealous people trying to bring him down. But Devil's Hollow had already made up its mind. And the thing about small towns is this: once they turn on you, there's no coming back. Emma called me. I didn't answer. She texted. Emma. What did you do? Me. I don't know what you're talking about. Emma. Everyone's talking about you and Caleb. You embarrassed him. You embarrassed me. Me. How did I embarrass you? She didn't respond. Because she couldn't explain how she was connected to Caleb without admitting the affair. The Jeep got keyed 2 weeks later. Deep, ugly scratches along both sides. Someone had also slashed 2 of the tires. I didn't do it. Honestly, I didn't. But Caleb thought I did. He showed up at the mill, screaming my name, trying to get past the security guard. You're going to regret this, he shouted. Do you hear me? This isn't over. The security guard called the police. Caleb got a warning. I got sympathy. Poor guy, Betty at the diner said. His wife cheats on him, and now that gym rat's harassing him. The narrative was writing itself. The farmer's market confrontation was almost accidental. I'd gone to buy vegetables. Devil's Hollow has one of those bougie farmers markets now, part of the whole revitalization thing, and Caleb was there, probably trying to rebuild his image. He had a booth promoting the gym. He saw me and went rigid. I kept walking, picking through heirloom tomatoes, ignoring him. Hey, he shouted. I turned. Can I help you? He stormed over, veins bulging in his neck. You ruined my life. I slapped you once, I said calmly. You ruined your own life. You're spreading lies about me. I haven't said anything about you, I said, which was technically true. I'd just given the town information. They'd drawn their own conclusions. He shoved me. I stepped aside. He stumbled forward, crashing into a table full of homemade jams. Glass shattered, jam everywhere. Vendors screaming. Caleb flailed, trying to catch himself, and ended up on his back in a puddle of strawberry preserves. The entire market went silent. Then someone laughed. Then everyone laughed. Caleb's face went purple with rage. The police showed up, separated us, told us to stay away from each other. I walked away, smiling. Emma's life was crumbling too. Lana told me everything, how Emma's co-workers were whispering, how HR had pulled her aside to discuss workplace professionalism after she'd snapped at a nurse. She's not handling it well, Lana said. She keeps trying to explain that she's the victim, but no one's buying it. Is she still with Caleb? I asked. Lana snorted. She's trying, but he's been distant. I think he's cutting her loose. Good. The twist came from Mr. Granger. He called me one evening, asked me to come by his office. I did some digging on your wife's friend, Granger said, leaning back in his leather chair. Caleb. Yeah? He doesn't own that house he's living in. He rents, and he's 3 months behind. I sat up straight. How do you know? I know the landlord. We play poker. He's been complaining about it. Granger smiled. And here's the interesting part. Caleb's been using Emma's money to cover some of it. Not all, but some. Told her he needed a short-term loan for gym equipment. I felt something cold slide down my spine. She gave him money? Quite a bit from what I hear. I sat back, processing this. Emma hadn't just cheated. She'd been used, manipulated, drained, and part of me, a very small part, almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Thanks for telling me, I said. Granger nodded. Be careful. Guys like Caleb don't like being cornered. I cornered him anyway. Drove to his rental house on a Wednesday night, parked down the street, waited until I saw his Jeep pull into the driveway. Then I walked up to his front door and taped a manila envelope to it. Inside, copies of his overdue rent notices, printouts of his child support delinquencies, and a selection of the love notes Emma had written him, which I'd found in her car the one time she'd asked me to grab something from it weeks ago. I'd kept them, just in case. I heard his front door open as I was walking back to my truck. "What the hell is this?" Caleb shouted. I turned. He was standing on his porch, envelope in hand, face red. "Just thought you should have your mail," I said. He stormed down the driveway. "You broke into my house." "I taped it to your door. That's not breaking in." "You're stalking me." "I'm standing on a public street." He came at me, fists clenched. I pulled out his spare key, the one Emma had given me months ago, back when they were still being secretive, and tossed it on the ground between us. "You might want this back," I said. "I used it to move your Jeep the other day. Just a few inches. Hope you didn't mind." His face went white. You could have seriously hurt me. I was standing right in front of it." "Could have," I agreed. "Didn't." He lunged. I stepped aside. He tripped over his own feet and fell into the mud in his front yard. Neighbors were watching now, curtains moving, phones out. Caleb scrambled to his feet, covered in mud, shaking with rage. And then Emma's Civic pulled up. She got out, saw Caleb, saw me, and froze. "What is going on?" she demanded. "Ask him," I said, nodding to Caleb. "He's been harassing me," Caleb shouted. "He's been using you," I said to Emma. She looked between us. "What?" "He's 3 months behind on rent," I said. "Been using your money to cover it. And he's still not caught up." Emma turned to Caleb. "Is that true?" "It's not. I can explain." "And he told his friend you're easy to manipulate," I added. "I heard him, 2 weeks ago, on the phone." Emma's face crumpled. You said you loved me." "I never said that," Caleb snapped. And just like that, they turned on each other. I walked away, leaving them to scream at each other in his front yard while the neighbors recorded everything. The final piece fell into place 3 weeks later. Emma, desperate and cornered, reached out to me again. "Emma, I know you hate me, but I need your help. Please." "Me? With what?" "Emma, I need to talk to Mr. Granger. I'm drowning. Caleb took money from me and now I can't make rent. My mom really is sick now. I need a loan." I stared at the message, and I felt nothing. Me. "Meet me at the old mill warehouse, Saturday, 8 p.m. I'll bring Granger." Emma. Thank you so much. I didn't tell her Granger wouldn't be there, but I did tell Caleb. Anonymous text from a burner phone. "Emma's planning to sue you for the money. Meeting at the mill warehouse Saturday at 8. Bring proof you paid her back." He'd show up. I knew he would, because guys like Caleb panic when cornered. Saturday night, 8 p.m. The old mill warehouse is a cavernous space, full of rusted machinery and shadows. I'd set up the sound system earlier. The big speakers we used for concerts, scattered throughout the space, all connected to a central mixing board. Emma arrived first. "Where's Mr. Granger?" she asked, looking around nervously. "He's running late," I said. "Should be here soon." She nodded, wrapped her arms around herself. Then Caleb arrived. He saw Emma. Emma saw him. "What is he doing here?" Emma demanded. "What is she doing here?" Caleb shot back. "I invited both of you," I said calmly. "Thought you could talk things out." "I'm done talking to him," Emma said. "You stole from me," Caleb shouted. "You took my spare key and gave it to this psycho." "I didn't steal anything. You stole from me." And they were off, screaming at each other, every grievance, every lie, every broken promise spilling out. I walked over to the mixing board, and I turned on the speakers. Their voices, amplified 100 times, echoed through the warehouse and out into the street. "You said you loved me." "I never said that. You're delusional. You used me for money." You were easy to use. A crowd started gathering outside. I could see them through the warehouse windows. Phones out. Recording. The Devil's Hollow gossip mill fed the greatest scandal of the year. Emma and Caleb kept screaming, too caught up in their mutual destruction to realize they were being broadcast. I walked out the back door, leaving them to tear each other apart. By Monday, Caleb's gym had lost 70% of its membership. Emma had been put on administrative leave from the hospital, pending an investigation into unprofessional conduct. Neither was harmed, neither was arrested, but their reputations, in a town like Devil's Hollow, were gone. They'd taken my piece. I'd taken theirs. Caleb caught up with me in the mill parking lot 2 days later. I was loading equipment into my truck when I heard his Jeep's engine. He jumped out, face twisted with rage. "You did this!" he screamed. "You ruined everything!" He came at me, fists swinging. I dodged. He stumbled, crashed into his own Jeep. The alarm went off. Lights flashing, horn blaring. People were already filming. Caleb turned, wild-eyed, and I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw a man who'd finally realized he'd lost. "We're done," I said, and I walked away. The alarm kept blaring behind me, echoing through Devil's Hollow like a warning siren. I didn't look back.